Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us for this morning for the monthly employment data release media call. My name is Emily Hetherington, and I serve as Interim Director of Communications and External Affairs for FloridaCommerce. Joining me here is Jimmy Heckman, Bureau Chief for Workforce Statistics and Economic Research. At the conclusion of this presentation, we will be taking questions from credentialed media. To ask a question, please submit it through the Teams chat feature, since we will not be able to accept questions through a private chat. We will address as many questions as possible, but if your question is not covered, please email media@commerce.fl.gov and our teams will work to get you an answer. Today's presentation is focused on employment data for January 2025. If you have questions regarding other Florida Commerce topics, also use the media@commerce.fl.gov email to connect with our team. I will now turn it over to Jimmy.
Thank you, Emily, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. At 10 o'clock this morning, the Florida Department of Commerce released January 2025 labor statistics for the state of Florida, as well as its sub-state areas, including all metropolitan areas, counties, and large cities. The department also released today the revised historical data for prior years, up to and including December 2024, and in some cases, going back to 1990. These data were produced by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics through a federal-state cooperative agreement with FloridaCommerce, and these data were collected through a combination of employer and household surveys, administrative records, and statistical modeling techniques. This graphic shows the most recent revisions to the historical unemployment rate. The green line displays the previously published or preliminary unemployment rate, and the blue line shows the newly published revised rate. In 8 out of 12 months in 2024, Florida's unemployment rate was revised upward, peaking at 3.5% in September through November of 2024. However, in December, the revised statewide unemployment rate decreased by 0.1 of 1 percentage point to 3.4%, the first decrease since January of 2023. By December of 2024, the end of the revision period, the revised statewide rate returned to 3.4%, equal to the preliminary rate. In this graphic, we see the revisions to the statewide labor force data, shown in blue, compared to the originally published data, shown in green. The revisions result in a consistently larger statewide labor force than originally estimated. By December 2024, the end of the revision period, the revision amounts to 162,000 more workers in Florida's labor force than originally published. In the preliminary estimation cycle, BLS had estimated that Florida's labor force declined for 9 consecutive months, leading up to an annual decline of 53,000 workers in 2024. After the revisions, however, BLS now estimates that Florida's labor force grew by 53,000 workers in 2024. The revised data now show that the state's workforce grew or held steady in 10 out of the last 12 months. Moving on to January 2025 labor statistics. The January 2025 seasonally adjusted unemployment rate statewide was 3.5%, up 0.1 of a percentage point from the previous month and up 0.3 of a percentage point from January of last year. The national unemployment rate was 4.0%, down 0.1 of a percentage point from the previous month. Florida's unemployment rate is 0.5 percentage points lower than the national rate and has now remained lower for 51 consecutive months since November of 2020. Miami-Dade County had the state's lowest unemployment rate at 2.4%, followed by Monroe County at 2.7% and Wakulla County at 3.2%. In January 2025, Sumter County had the highest unemployment rate at 6.9%, followed by Taylor County at 6.5%, and Citrus County at 5.8%. The unemployment rate of 3.5% in January 2025 represented 390,000 jobless individuals out of a labor force of 11,188,000. Total employment, or the number of people with jobs, increased by 13,000, 0.1 percentage point from the prior month, while unemployment increased by 5,000, or 1.3% from the prior month. Florida's labor force of 11,188,000, which is composed of all currently employed workers, as well as unemployed job seekers who are actively looking for work, increased by 18,000, or 0.2% from the prior month. In this graphic, we see the over-the-year percent change in the labor force in Florida, shown in blue, and the United States, shown in green. As of January 2025, Florida's labor force has increased by 0.6 of a percentage point over the year. The national labor force grew at a rate of 2.0% over the same time period. With today's release, we are also publishing historical revisions to payroll employment statistics. The data shown here capture jobs by place of work as opposed to place of residence, and the revised data are based primarily on information coming directly from employers through reemployment tax filings. This figure shows the preliminary and revised series from July 2022 through December 2024. However, historical revisions for this series contain revisions back to 1990. The previously published data are shown in the green preliminary series, while the revised data are shown in blue. The trend and direction of payroll employment changed little after the revision process, with revisions of less than 0.1% throughout most of 2024. By December 2024, the end of the revision period, total non-farm employment was revised downward by 11,600 jobs for a total of 10,002,100 jobs. Moving on to January 2025, non-agricultural employment statistics. In January 2025, total non-agricultural employment rose to 10,018,600 jobs, up 16,500 jobs, or up 0.2% from the prior month. This figure is up 139,000 jobs from 1 year ago, an over-the-year increase of 1.4%. The private sector component of employment was 8,848,200 jobs in January 2025, up 12,500 jobs, or 0.1% from the prior month. Total private employment was up 113,600 jobs from January of 2024, an over-the-year increase of 1.3%. The national private sector growth rate was 1.2% over the same time period. Florida's over-the-year private sector job growth rate has exceeded the nation's for 44 of the last 45 months since April of 2021. 7 out of the 10 industry supersectors in Florida gained jobs over the month. Education and health services gained the most jobs over the month, increasing by 7,200 jobs, or 0.5%, followed by leisure and hospitality, increasing by 6,100 jobs, or 0.5%, and total government increasing by 4,000 jobs, or 0.3%. 3 out of the 10 industry supersectors in Florida lost jobs over the month. Construction lost the most jobs, declining by 5,100 jobs, or 0.8%, followed by professional and business services, declining by 600 jobs, less than 0.1 percentage point, and information declining by 100 jobs, or 0.1 percentage point. Here we see the over-the-year change in employment by industry supersector between January 2024 and January 2025, in Florida, shown in blue, compared to the United States, shown in green. The fastest growing Florida industries over the past year were education and health services, growing by 3.2%, followed by other services at 2.4%, and government at 2.2%. 7 major sectors outpaced national trends over the last 12 months. The top 3 sectors where Florida outperformed national growth the most were manufacturing, other services, and information. The map here shows seasonally adjusted over-the-month job growth by local metro area in January 2025. 16 of the 25 metro areas in Florida had over-the-month job gains. The Sebastian, Vero Beach, and Orlando, Kissimmee, Sanford metro areas both grew at a rate of 0.5%, the fastest job growth among all Florida metro areas. These were followed by the Punta Gorda and Pensacola, Ferry Pass, Brent MSAs, each growing at a rate of 0.3%. The Wildwood Villages, Miami, Miami Beach, Kendall, and Northport, Sarasota, Bradenton, Naples, Marco Island, and Ocala metro areas each grew at a rate of 0.2%. The metro areas that added the most jobs in January were the Orlando, Kissimmee, Sanford metro area, adding 7,300 jobs, the Miami, Miami Beach, Kendall metro area, adding 3,200 jobs, and the Tampa metro area, adding 1,400 jobs. 7 Florida metro areas lost jobs in December, The areas that lost the most jobs were the Jacksonville metro area, losing 1,300 jobs, the Crestview, Fort Walton Beach, Destin metro areas, losing 300 jobs, and the Panama City Beach metro area, losing 200 jobs. This concludes the presentation, and I'll be happy to field questions from credentialed media.
Again, thank you so much for joining us today for the January 2025 rate release. If you have any additional questions, please email media@commerce.fl.gov. We look forward to having you for our next rate release for February 2025 on Friday, March 28th, 2025. Thank you and have a good week.